For this video, we're going to focus on multiplying binomials with mixed variables and exponents. With these, I'm going to remember all of my rules for multiplying binomials and all of my power exponent rules. For our first example, I'm going to set this up using our tic-tac-toe grid box to do my multiplication. If you prefer to show your double distributing, you can use that method as well. So I can fill my box in by saying n minus 3m, and I'll be multiplying that by n minus 2m. So now I can go through and fill in my multiplication box here. So I'm going to start by multiplying an n times an n. We know that n times n is equal to n squared. So I put that inside of my grid. Next, I'll multiply n by minus 2m. So this is a product that we're taking here. So I'm multiplying n times a negative 2m. With this one, there's no exponents to be adding here or anything because they have two different letters, an m and an m. So in this case, my solution is just going to be minus, or my product is going to be negative 2mn. I can then go through and take a look at my negative 3m. For that, I'm going to multiply negative 3m times a positive n. From here, if I write that product out, it's a negative 3m times n. Using my rules of multiplying monomials, I get a negative 3mn. And lastly, I'll multiply my negative 3m by a negative 2m. That's taking the product of a negative 3m times a negative 2m. When I go through to combine or multiply these products out, I'm going to get a negative 3 times a negative 2 is a positive 6m squared, because m times m is equal to m squared. Now along my diagonal in this problem, I still am able to combine these like terms. The like term in this case is an mn. So I have a negative 3mn and a negative 2mn to give me negative 5mn. When I go to rewrite my answer in standard form, we do alphabetical order and highest exponents. So I get 6m squared plus n squared minus minus 5mn. Change that really quick. Make sure we can see the minus 5 there. So this would be our final answer. If I look at my second example, I'm going to go ahead and draw my grid again. Here I'm using p's and q's as my variables. The operation, of course, is multiplication between these two. So I have 2p plus 3q, and that's being multiplied by 3p plus 2q. When I do my products, I'm going to multiply 2p times 3p. That gives me a product of 6p squared. Next, I'll multiply 3p by 2q. I'll multiply my coefficients to get 4pq. If I move on to my 3q, I'll multiply my 3q times 3p. That product will be equal to 9pq. And lastly, I'll multiply my 3q by my 2q. When I multiply, the product will be 6q squared. In this problem, along my diagonals, I can still combine my like terms with that being the like term being PQ. So 9 plus 4 is 13 PQ. So my final answer written in standard form would be 6P squared plus 6Q squared plus 13PQ. For my final example, just to mix this up a little bit, I will show you using our double distribute method that we've talked about previously. So remember, when you're double distributing, we are going to be taking each term of our first binomial and distributing it to each term of our second binomial. So we'll start off by distributing my x squared to my x. So I'll have an x squared times x is equal to an x cubed. Next, I'll distribute that x squared over to my minus 1. So that's an x squared times a negative 1, which gives me a product of a negative x squared. Now I can move on to my 3x term. So I take my 3x and distribute that to my x. That product will be a 3x times an x, which can be simplified to a plus 3x squared. And my final product will be a 3x times a negative 1. 3x times a negative 1, which is equal to minus 3x. From here, I'm looking to combine my like terms. So I have only 1x cubed, but I do have 2x squareds that need to be combined here. And then I have a x term all by itself. So my final solution, written in standard form with exponents from largest to smallest, will be x cubed. And when I combine my negative x squared and my plus 3x squared, that's going to give me plus 2x squared minus 3x. So x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x would be my final solution. When simplifying expressions with polynomials and monomials and multiplying through, you always want to make sure to watch your signs, take your time, remember your properties and exponent rules, and look for those like terms. You'll do great.